All right, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's good, everybody? Let's see who comes in. I'll give it a little minute. We're live with another one. Interesting topic today. Now, I truly believe for a fact that Black Americans are targeted by other groups. So we're going to discuss that. Let's see who we. So we have H. Rich in the house. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Give it a few minutes. Wait for people to come up so we get started. What's up, China Black? How you doing? This won't be a long one. We're going to just get right to it. And hopefully some of you have some interesting comments you want to leave behind. And we could discuss this matter. Now, I heard that Beyonce got caught up in some stuff about the indigenous people, that the Indians said something that was they took offense to. I really don't know too much about it, but I hear she's getting a lot of flack. They claim that she was disrespecting the native people or the Native Americans. So I'm going to look into that a little bit further to see what's going on. But everybody's sensitive. I guess you know what it is? It's people are trying to tell the truth, and it's offensive. People take offense to it, you know. So that's apparently what's going on. You know, so let's just wait a few more minutes and then we're going to get started. You know, it's basically based off of this video, or this live is based off something that this Cuban girl said, and it appeared it was a response to a comment she received, and I think it has something to do with the N-word. And so I don't know for a fact, but when we get into it, we're going to discuss it, and then we're going to take it from there. What's up, Melanated Warrior? What's up? What's up? How you guys doing? Let's see. Let's see. Let me go back here for a second. All right, all right, all right, all right. So what's new, guys? What's up? What's up, Melanated Warrior? What you been up to? What you been up to? All right, let's see. Caption. Let's see. All right. So let me just go ahead and get started. Like I said, I'm not going to be here too long, but I just need to get this out of my system because it's been bothering me. So let's get to it. All right. So let me share my screen, and we're going to get right into it. Okay, this is from a TikTok video. Now, I know you can't see the comment, but let me read the comment to you. It says, this is what she's responding to. Okay, so it says, if we throw it amongst each other, why the F would y'all start doing it? You are not us. Like I said, you copy us because your culture sucks. So you take, and then it ends right there. So apparently, from what I'm getting from this, because you guys know that a lot of Latinos are using the N-word unapologetically. They're just using it against us, and it's not in the, what you call it, the brotherly love, or the nice way, or if there is a nice way. I'm trying to think of the word they use. It's not with the A, it's with the ER, the hard ER. And some blacks seem to be okay with it, unfortunately. Then there are some blacks who have a problem with it. I'm one of those people who have a problem with it. Oh, the word I'm looking for, endearment. So these Latinos are using the N-word not as a term of endearment. and they're basically saying, make me stop using it. They're saying free speech, blah, blah, blah. So they're being very disrespectful, extremely disrespectful. And think about that. They want us to go out there and protest for them, yet they have no problem throwing the N-word around, right? So this is a 31-second clip. And believe it or not, in 31 seconds, this Cuban woman says a lot. And we're going to break this thing down. Okay, let me go.
But if we're going to use your logic, Black American culture, what is it, y'all? Entirely stolen from white people. Like I said in another video, Cuban culture is more closely tied to, related to, similar to African culture and Africa than Black American culture is. You guys are far removed from Africa. Your entire culture is white people culture that you've adopted and made your own, because that's how culture works.
Now, I'm going to play that again because I want you to really listen to. She said a lot in 31 seconds, and I just want to break it down.
But if we're going to use your logic, Black American culture, what is it, y'all? Entirely stolen from white people. Like I said in another video, Cuban culture is more closely tied to, related to, similar to African culture and Africa than Black American culture is. You guys are far removed from Africa. Your entire culture is white people culture that you've adopted and made your own, because that's how culture works.
See, this is an idiot woman who don't understand or know anything about Black American history. And what happens is the person that she responded to, where she says, or where the person says, your culture sucks, she's taking offense with that. And so she's basically saying, well, your culture, Black American culture, comes from white people. You don't really have a culture. That's basically what she's saying to us in response to this particular person who's commenting. I don't know if this is, it's a guy named Leon, okay, Leonard something. Made that comment that your culture sucks and basically why are you using N-word? So this is her response. Now, clearly, she doesn't know anything about Black American history, and she's holding on to the narrative that because Black Americans lost a drum, and I say that loosely because as I showed in a debate not too long ago, that there were aspects of America where Black people were able to play drums. Remember, if we're going to go with the 1619 period as when the first Africans came to America to be enslaved, if we're going to go by that particular narrative, then we have to agree that in 1739, for 120 plus years, Africans were able to play the drums. So it was never banned up until that point. And even after that point, they were able to play drums. But because this stupid narrative, it gives the impression that there was no African nothing going on in this country amongst the enslaved people here. So that's the first thing she gets wrong. The second thing she gets wrong, let me read something, and you could just Google this, and this just goes to show you how out of touch this person is. Now, all you got to do is, and I asked Google this question, is Black American culture American culture? That seems clear enough, right? So this is what Google says. Yes, Black American culture is an integral part of American culture, deeply influencing various aspects of American life and global trends. While distinct, it has also been a major force in shaping American culture as a whole. Then it gives more in depth. It says, historical significance. Black Americans have shaped American culture since their arrival with contributions in agriculture, music, language, and more. Cultural influence. Black culture has had a significant impact on American music, dance, literature, and other art forms. Then it goes into global impact because Black American culture is the most influential culture around the world. That goes without question. So now when she says that we got our culture from white America, What is she talking about? Because in reality, Black Americans gave America its culture, not the other way around. Most of what America is due to us. And because of her hatred towards Black Americans, she's too stupid to realize that she's making herself look foolish by saying that we got our culture from white America. So I would ask her, and I would ask anybody, what is white culture? If we got our culture from white people, then tell me, what is white culture? And why is it that the only things that we got from white culture are the good things that they celebrate? Now, all the negative things that come along with quote unquote Black culture, they don't embrace that. You know, I'm talking about things like we're lazy, we're criminals, we're, you know, all the decadent stuff that they like to say about Black people. Somehow that doesn't come from white culture, but all the great things that we've done comes from white culture. This shows you the anti-Blackness of these people. So either we got everything, even the criminality from them, everything, or we got nothing from them. And according to Google and other sources, I just use Google because that's the easiest thing. You could just look that up. We gave America its culture. Now, she also says that Cubans are more closer to African culture than Black Americans, because here again, she's misguided. There are a lot of examples. Let me stop sharing right quick, and I'll come back to this. But let me go back here. Let me share this. I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about. Give me 1 second. Words from, okay, here we go. Now, this is about from Africa to the America, words we still speak today. Not only words, we could talk about food that still is a part of Africa, that is still in this country amongst Black Americans. We could talk about religious practice. They talk about Santeria in Cuba, but we had hoodoo in the southern states. And like I said, when I was a kid, I don't think I heard the word hoodoo. I heard the word voodoo, but I always associated that with Haiti. But they said in America, we had what was called hoodoo, but I knew it as roots. You know, I heard that term, you know, this person gonna put roots on you, blah, blah, blah. I heard that. So that came from Africa. So when she says that we lost, basically she's trying to say that we lost everything. But there were a lot of things that we held on to. Now, let me give you an example of some of the words. They only provide 10 words that survived the transatlantic slave trade. So we got okra. We all know what okra is. That's a vegetable. Savannah, open plains, juke, and it's a Gullah Geechee word for rowdy, which, you know, basically this is where you get the juke joint example. Goober, and they give you where they believe these words came from. Then you got banjo, you got yam, you got zombie, boogie, jive, tote. These words they trace to Africa, and these are words that we use today. And they also show you words that survived in Spanish. So from Cuba, they got words like mambo, malanga, neme, conga, marimba, and so forth and so on. They also have Portuguese as well. So we have to understand this. Cubans, Afro-Cubans, they lost their language too. It just didn't happen to Black Americans. That's why the Afro-Cubans speak Spanish. They lost their language as well. So to say that somehow it only happened to Black Americans shows her inability to rationalize what she's talking about. Now, here's the other thing I want to talk about too. Let me stop sharing this. Now she talked about, again, that Cubans are more African, right? Now let me remind her that In Cuba, what? Now she's a white Cuban. Let's keep this. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. And it's amazing how even with our music today, when jazz came out, when ragtime came out, white people hated it. And then over time they gravitated to it, and now they embrace it and they love it, and they all down with it and everything like that. But they weren't down with it before. And it's always the white Cubans trying to claim Afro-Cuban music, but it goes against the history. And I'm going to read something really brief. This is what I talked about in the debate, and how white Cubans are hypocrites. Because after the Spanish-American War, this is what happened. In 1912, Black war veterans formed an Afro-Cuban party to demand reparations. In response, the government slaughtered 3,000 Black veterans and imprisoned thousands more Black citizens with the help of the United States and the Catholic Church and thousands of bourgeoisies or from support from Black bourgeoisies. The government raided Afro-Cuban temples and burned sacred drums. White Cubans formed militias. Bands of whites attacked Blacks on the street of Havana. Constitutional guarantees were suspended. Suspected rebels were arrested and killed. The need to defend white civilized Cuba from Black witchcraft. I'm sorry, let me read that again. Suspected rebels were arrested or killed. The need to defend white civilized Cubans from Black witchcraft and savagery was extolled. Government forces machine gun 150 peaceful peasants, protesters, including entire families. The presence of U.S. Marines offshore allowed the Cuban army to indiscriminately kill 3,000 to 6,000 Blacks. Noisy street parades by Black Cubans during the carnival period were prohibited, despite the violence, racism, and contempt direct toward Afro-Cuban music and dance traditions continue to be practiced in the poor Black communities situated in the slums, tenements outside the core city. So I read that because I want to give context to the idea that white Cubans act like they was down with the music. Now they want to claim it. You know, it's something that they do today in our life in America. You know, they don't like it, and then eventually they gravitate to it, and then they claim it as if it was theirs. Let me show you this other example. This is a quick example of a white Cuban talking about the difference between the percussions in Cuba versus the percussion in America, and tried to say that Cuban percussions is superior. So I want you to check this out. Let me find that. Let's see. Now you're going to have to read this. It's in subtitles, but listen to what he says. It's important.
Survived. Unlike in North America.
Por eso es que surge el gospel y surgen las canciones folclóricas, surge rhythm and blues, todo eso, y el country, todas las músicas del sur norteamericano son vocales, melódicas, porque a los negros esclavos norteamericanos de las plantaciones de algodón de origen africano les estaba prohibido tocar tambor, y en Cuba no. Entonces figúrate, el desarrollo que tuvo el tambor y la percusión en Cuba fue muy superior, indiscutiblemente, a Estados Unidos. Por eso es que en Estados Unidos el instrumento casi único es el drum, la batería. Y en Cuba, imagínate tú, el arsenal de tambores que hay en Cuba. Claro. Así, es un libro así de este tamaño.
All right, so here is a white Cuban. Now, I just read the history. I just read the history of how the white Cubans treated the Afro-Cubans. And look how this white Cuban is. He's acting like the drums come from him. This is what's happening. And I'm going to link this to hip hop in a minute as well. This is what's going on in hip hop. You got people who had nothing to do with it are now trying to claim something and then try to convince you as Black people you had nothing to do with it. We're going to get into that. We're definitely going to get into that. So let me go back to this girl, because I want to play it again, because like I said, even though this was 31 seconds, she said a lot. And what I want to do is use this example to talk about
if
other
we're going
things
to
as
use
well.
your logic, Black American culture, what is it, y'all? Entirely stolen from white people. Like I said in another video, Cuban culture is more closely tied to, related to, similar to African culture and Africa than Black American culture is. You guys are far removed from Africa. Your entire culture is white people culture that you've adopted and made your own, because that's how culture works.
So again, just to backtrack real quick, she don't know nothing. Clearly, she doesn't know anything about the Gullah Geechee. She doesn't know anything about Congo Square, and she doesn't know anything about Pinkston. All those areas heavily influenced with African traditions. And so these are the tactics that they want to try to do to minimize you. Now, here's the thing, what's really going on behind all of this. They recognize that Black America is at the top in terms of minorities. Black Americans are at the top. We're the most influential people on the planet. This country was built by us, right? We're so influential, even the over 50,000 inventions created by Black Americans, right? Let me show you this. Let me stop this real quick. Just to prove what I'm saying. Let's go. Let me show you this. We have inventions that goes unnoticed, that people don't even realize that Black Americans have created. You know, everything from the traffic light, from the automatic elevator doors, the gas mask, the fire escape, automatic gear shift, railway telegraph system, airplane toilet system, home security systems, modern ironing board, the clothes dryer, folding chair, dustpan, fountain pen, pencil sharpener, blood banks, cataracts, surgery, first successful open heart surgery. Technology and communications, the first video game cartridge, the modern cell phone, microphone, three-way telephone communications, caller ID. The list goes on and on. Things that people use today, right? And have no idea that Black Americans are responsible for this. This is how powerful we are. So what does other groups try to do? They try to knock us down, right? They try to knock us down because they are jealous. Think about this. Just like when football players used to celebrate in the end zone, they started penalizing the football players that would celebrate in the end zone because they can't stand Black folks celebrating. We're not supposed to be exuberant about our accomplishments. We're supposed to be humble and meek. So when we celebrate and talk about the greatness, this is what delineation has done. Because now we're saying, we did this, we did that. And what they find, what the other groups are dealing with, is saying, how can we compare to that? How can we compare to that? And so they're striking back in a way to try to level the playing field, as it were, because they understand that we are at the top. My friend Malik will always say, they walk amongst giants. We are at the top, and they're finding a way to break us down. Now, this reminds me of a brother named Adonis Crash Boom, and he goes to the UK. He goes to a whole lot of different places, but he mainly goes to the UK, and he challenges the Black Brits, which are the Africans and the Caribbeans, about their perception of Black Americans. And he does an outstanding job. And what most Caribbeans will do, even in the United States, it doesn't only happen in Britain. He challenges them when they say to him, you don't know where you're from. And why do you think they do that? Why do you think Caribbeans and Africans say that to Black Americans? You don't know where you're from. They say that because they want to have a one-up on you. They think because they believe, now here's the trick. They believe they know where they're from, but actually they don't even know where they're from. And this is what Crash Boom, this is what Adonis does so excellently. He proves that even Africans can't say for sure that they're from the countries that they say they came from. This is the great thing about what he does. So let me give you an example of what he does. Let me find his clip. And again, like I said, this is what these individuals, these Caribbeans and Africans do, because they're tired. They're tired of Black Americans being on top. We live in a global community now. They believe they're just as talented. I'm not saying that they're not, but they believe they're just as talented, but they just as creative. Why are we still celebrating? Why are Black Americans still on the top? So they're trying to figure out a way. How do we limit or bring down their stature? You know, it's African Americans, there's African Americans. They understand that we are the global influence, and they can't stand that. They want to change that narrative, right? So let's listen to Adonis, and this is an actual example of how he handles these Caribbeans and Africans when it comes to that question. You don't know where you're from.
Okay. You're Black American, right?
Yeah.
Where are you from in terms of like?
Just another viral video.
Do you know what country you're from?
Yeah, I'm from America.
No. Ethnically.
So hold on. So let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question.
Go on.
They say everybody comes from Africa, right? Is that what they say, right?
That's what they say.
They say everybody in the world comes from Africa, right?
That's what they say.
So my question to you is, where do Russian people come from?
No, they don't say everybody.
You said everyone in the world
They
comes
said
to Africa, so
everybody-
everyone
So
comes to
everybody
Africa.
in the world comes.
You said everybody in the world comes from Africa.
Scientists.
That's what they say. Scientists
Everyone
say
originates from
yeah.
Africa.
Millions of years ago.
Everybody originates from Africa.
Yeah.
So when you say where am I originally from, would you say that to Chinese people?
Yeah, and they say China.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll say I'm from America. I was born in
Okay,
America.
but if you
Where you from?
If you, I'm Kenya, Somali.
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 All right, go
Born
ahead.
in Kenya.
You got
He's
a phone?
African.
I got a phone?
Yeah. Get your phone.
Oh, dude, I got no service out here.
You got a phone? You got Google?
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, my question to you is, if you look at your family history and you actually go back,
Yeah, I know more about.
Where do you think you're from? Or where do you know where you're
I know I'm from America. I know more about my lineage than you know about yours.
Have you done a DNA test?
DNA test does not confirm ethnicity.
I'm gonna say one thing only. You and me relate more than you can relate to him. You know why? Because you are first generation African born in the UK, as I am a Mexican born in the US. Granted, it's the same continent, yeah, but I can literally go. My parents are immigrants to the US, so me and you are more similar than you are to him, because his people have been there for hundreds of years already. So
I'm saying before that, do you know where you originate from?
There were black
America?
people. There were black people in America before Christopher Columbus came to America.
So do you think your lineage started in America if you go back?
I think that
Go back.
I do think that it depends on when you consider a start point for anybody. Because when it comes down to even to you, you're from Kenya. You got a phone?
Yeah.
Google the census for Kenya. Google what is Kenya's first census. And I'm going to show you right now, like in general, I know more about my lineage and my history than you can ever know about yours, because your particular community of people never documented your history. Majority of your countries are fairly new. Kenya was not originally Kenya. It was colonized by a group of people, and then they stayed it in Kenya. It was called the Berlin Conference. During the Berlin Conference when they split up. So Kenya's first census was in 1969. That's how long your Kenyan people can go back with the affirmative paperwork of how long you have been there. Before it was named Kenya, we were hunters and gatherers.
No, that's valid. Yeah.
So you can't say you're from Kenya. You won't be able to say you're from Kenya because up until 1966 is when they had their first census. Us, in America, we had our first census in the 1700s. So that's when the war for 1776 happened in America, when we pushed away from the United Kingdoms. And we documented everybody that was in America at that particular time. So when you sit down and say, where you're originally from, I can ask you that more than you can ask me that. Because at the 1700s, I have more documentation of where my people come from, my lineage, than you do. That's why some of the people from your country, their birthdays are all like January 1st on their birth certificates. So, so when people say,
what's all this to say though? What's this leading up to?
you can't sit down and say, I'm not from America because you have no documentation of where you're from. And I can sit down and say, I'm from America and I can date back all the way to 1700 that proves that from a definitive lineage and timeline. And you can't go back to 1800 with your timeline.
Nah. I see what you mean. In terms
So
of
it's like,
going back
how
to
can you ask me where I'm from and say, and you're saying from Africa?
in that sense?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Fanboys.
Yeah, you got.
But you just learned something, you know?
I see where you're coming from. Like
Yeah.
your point of view is it makes a lot.
It's
of sense.
like, you can't confirm me you're from Kenya.
So, in short, you're Black American.
Yeah.
And see, there you go. You heard him say how he broke it down. He said he had to acknowledge he's Black American. And this is, now, think about this. How come Jamaicans, anyone from the Caribbean, is asked that question, where you're from? This is how you know it's targeted against Black Americans, because they want to somehow diminish who we are as Black Americans by saying we don't know where we're from. Now, you can ask the same question of Jamaicans, Bahamians, Grenadians, Barbadians, anywhere where Black people are in South America, like Brazil, Colombia, anywhere where Black people are, except in America. They aren't asked that question, where you're from. It's only targeted to Black Americans because we're at the top. You only go after the person at the top. You don't go after the person beneath you. So you let the Jamaicans slide. You don't never ask them that question, where you're from. Jamaicans don't know where, quote unquote, where in Africa they're from. They have no clue. But they're never asked. They could just say, I'm from Jamaica, and everybody's okay. No one questions that. But you ask a Black American where you're from, he says, I'm from America. They said, well, where you really from? Basically, they're saying you're not American. According to other other Africans and Caribbeans, whether it's in this country or whether it's in Africa or whether it's Britain or wherever Black people are, to them, Black Americans aren't American. However, I just showed you, I just read to you, we created America. American culture comes from Black American culture. That is just a fact. Let me stop this. I wanted to play something real quick. I want to give you what I would call a musical example of what I'm talking about. I should have put this up. I forgot to put this up before. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Just bear with me, because I love this musical example. I forgot to put it up in my queue. And let me see if I can find it. And let's see. I think this is it. Here it is. Okay. Okay, let me see if it came up, because I'm just adding this. So let's see if it came up. Okay, I want you to hear this particular song, right? Now remember, this woman said, I'm going back to what the Cuban girl said. She said, we got this from our culture comes from white people, right? So I want to play this, and I want anyone to tell me, where did this come from? Let's go back here.
All right. When I make it happy, I'll be all right.
Let me stop that right there. She says, "Sing children." That's that's Southern, right? Because that's the way the the old folks used to talk in the South. They didn't say children; they said children. All right. Let me go back because I love this. I love this. Let me go back for a second. Let's do it again.
I'll be all right when I make it happy. I'll be all right. I'm gonna put on my long white robe. So I'm gonna last all the ground when I make it to heaven. Frank Sheeran. When I make it to heaven. When I make it to heaven, said I'll be all right. I wanna go to heaven. 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 Where the streets up there are paved with gold. I wanna go to heaven. I wanna go to heaven. I wanna be some milk, milk in the honey. I wanna find that trouble. When I make it to heaven, make it to heaven. Y'all better sing heaven, make it to heaven. I'm gonna put on my long white robe. Right, cornbread. My long white robe. When I make it to heaven, put on my long white robe. I'm gonna put on my long white robe. And then Lord, walk down low. Yes, sir. Walk down low.
Well, there we go. Let me stop that. Let me stop that. Now, the question I have is this. For that Cuban girl and anybody else, where in white America did we get that from? I'll wait. Where in Latin America? Where in Asia? Where in Africa did we get that from? See, what certain individuals don't understand, we experienced an ethnogenesis in this country, and the music that we created here was birthed here by us. It ain't come from nowhere else. Point me anywhere in Europe where there's anything that sounds like that. The music that you heard right there is basically the building block of all the genres that were created, and even music prior to that. Our music comes from us. It didn't come from white folk. So we need to stop that narrative unless you could prove to me that music such as I just played for you, you can trace it to white America. Again, we gave America its culture. Let's not get that twisted. Again, just Google it. We gave America its culture, not the other way around. So this is jealousy amongst other groups who are envious of the greatness of Black Americans. And it's time for Black Americans to stand up and be proud and talk about it. Because if we don't talk about it, nobody else will. All right? They would love for us to shut up and be kumbaya and share everything. And then tell us 20, 30 years down the road, we didn't create it. I'm leaning back into the hip hop thing right now. So let me do this. Let me show you how I'm linking this to hip hop. Real briefly, like I said, I'm not going to be here long. You got certain individual, and I'm going to call his name out because I hope he's listening. His name is True Teacher. Everything that Black America's created, he wants to attribute it to white folks. Even our vernacular. Even our vernacular. Oh, we speak English, so it's white folks. Even though he knows that linguists have already concluded that our way of speaking, AAVE, is a distinct new type of English that was created by Black Americans. And he does not want to give credit for the slang words that come out of AAV, because the slang words that come out of AAV you find in hip hop language. They also concluded that the language of hip hop comes from AAV. And because that bothers them, they can't admit to the fact that AAV is a major contributor to hip hop language. They want to say, oh, that came from white folks. So in other words, black folks can't even claim their own language. Envy, jealousy. They walk amongst giants. That's what we're talking about. Not only that, you had this other guy, I'm not even going to mention his name. He said rapping doesn't even come from black Americans. He cited something that happened in 15th, 16th century Europe, England or Nordic areas of Europe, a thing called flighting. Apparently, there's no evidence of what it sounded like because it was the 15th, 16th century. We have no idea. But if you look it up right now, flighting is Flyting. If you look up that term, they will show you certain poetry battles. And they do it in a way, if we were doing the dozens, you know, if you're Black American, you know what the dozens are, right? And that's a traditional Black American, activity. So they kind of do this flighting thing in that kind of way, almost to suggest that that was our influence, right? Anything that they could do to minimize our contributions and who we are as Black people. So this dude, I'm not going to mention his name, he tried to suggest we got rapping from white folks in England. So in other words, nothing. He's also the dude that said originally that breaking came from Latinos. So breaking came from Latinos. DJs are the Caribbeans. Rapping came from white folks. Fashion came from Italians, whatever, white folks. In other words, Black Americans had nothing to do with hip hop, the creation of hip hop. Now, why would you do that unless you're envious of a group of people? Why would you do that if you're not jealous of a particular group of people? Why are you trying to strip them of what they contribute and who they are? And this is what's going on right now. So I hope True Teacher is listening, because I would love for him to come up and talk about how much we got from white folks. I would love for him to address how much of American culture came from Black American culture and not the other way around. Because you can't define what American culture, what is white American culture? What is that? Somebody describe that to me. But I could describe Black American culture. I could definitely describe that. So let's say I'm not going to continue. This is pretty much, that's what I wanted to point out. I needed to get that off my chest because it was bothering me, especially when I saw that girl made that comment about apparently she feels that she's more African than Black Americans. It's a joke. Let's see what the comment. What's up, Akeem? See what, say it loud. What's up, say JG? True Teacher's a big Black supremacy. Okay, let me see what other comments. I'm getting ready to drop the link in a minute, and if you guys want to, talk about it. Let me see. Try to look at some of these comments before I do that. What's up? Say it loud. Let's see. So let me see what this comment is right quick. Puerto Ricans have successfully stole hip hop because if you Google Puerto Rican culture, it states that one of their music genres. Wow, I didn't know that. I did not know that it would say that. World's best braider. I see you on Cologne's channel. What's up? All right. Can someone tell me what FBA means? Okay. Let's do that. Can someone tell me what FBA means? Now, for me, I always said this. FBA has different meanings for different people. For me, it's not the same as maybe for Tyreek. Tyreek would add the indigenous aspect of the identity to FBA. I don't. So for me, it's really simple. It's those individuals who could trace their ancestry through chattel slavery in America. Those are foundational Black Americans. Beyond that, people have their own opinion of what that means, because it's not a group, it's a lineage. So if you're looking for me to say it's a group, it's not a group, it's a lineage. Okay, so I hope that answered the question. Let me see who else is, before I open up. Let me see. Ike destroyed the flighty mess. Who was Ike? I wish I knew what you talk about, Hakeem. Of course it's mess. Of course it's mess. It is what it is. All right. So what I'm going to do, if you want to say something, I put the link in the chat. Like I said, I'm not going to be here too long. If you want to come up and offer an opinion, feel free to do so. If not, I can go home and eat. Make me know, never mind. You know what I'm saying? So the definition of FBA has been going on for a while now. Urban commute. Let's see, we got somebody up here. Volvo. Okay, let's see what. Okay, what's up, Volvo?
What's going on, brother? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. What's up, man?
Okay, yeah, I wanted to touch on a couple things. Latinos did not steal hip hop. It's just because you cosplay something, that don't mean that it's yours. Just because you act like something, that don't mean that it's yours. If I start barking like a dog, that don't make me a dog.
Right.
I'm a human being. If I go act like a Chinese man, I'm not a Chinese man. I'm a foundational Black American. Another thing, we trying to bring clarity to this thing, and if you can't trace your lineage back to the 1870 census, you are not a foundational Black American.
Okay,
that's easy to do. It ain't nothing that's hard.
Right.
It's got to say Black or Negro on the 1870 census. You should be able to do that extremely easy. It takes 30 minutes. These are government documents that we have. In order to participate in the American system, you have to be documented. That's why these people today they're undocumented. They want to be documented. So our mothers, fathers, our foremothers and forefathers, they were very well documented. In order to go to school, you have to have school records, right?
Right.
You have to have shot records, right? Medical records, death certificates, birth certificates, state IDs, card titles, home deeds. We have all this on our people because we participated in the American system because we are the real Americans. We are Americans. If you allow me to just this one last piece, it was something about white people that was just said about white. I forgot, it was something that
I said a lot about white people today.
Yeah, it was something you just touched on. It was something I forgot. If I remember, if you allow me to stay about.
Yeah. You can stay on for a minute. Yeah, certainly. What's up, Malik?
It's on. Peace. What's going on?
What's up? How you doing?
All right, brother. I see a topic here. The topic is what? What is to be an FBA, right?
No. The topic is the envy towards FBA is disturbing. That's the topic.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you what it is.
Okay.
It's jealous one envy.
Right. Exactly.
They understand this part. We can't be deported because we're already home.
Right.
Okay? That's the bottom line. And let me say something. A lot of them was caught up on, well, we're part of the we're like Puerto Rico's Commonwealth state and everything. Look, what do you think they trying to do with that 14th Amendment? If they get rid of that, they can send you back home, Commonwealth my butt. So it don't matter what it is. They can't send us nowhere. That's the bottom line. And when you look at North America, let's be Pacific, North America we're talking about, right? What I'm saying is this. We are the true heirs to here in North America because all the music and the dancing and we got over 50,000 patents. Nobody tops us here if you think about it. Who tops us here? You know, people always, they compare us to when they want.
What's up? You went out. You went out. I can't hear you, Malik. You went out. Uh-oh. Why don't you come back? Why don't you go back? Okay, I got you. You're back. You're back. You're back. Go ahead.
The white people. Well, the white man did this and the white man did that because that's your father. That's why.
You're still out. Okay, he's out. All right. I don't have a name. The brother who not Volvo, the other brother who's up. You go if you want to speak, go ahead and speak now.
Respect, Rogish. And y'all hear me?
What's your name? What's your name again?
Rogish son.
Rogish. Okay, I see.
Rogish.
Okay.
Like
Rogish. I got you.
Rogish cat.
Got you, brother. All right.
The thing is, I've been waiting for everybody to do something fresher than us since I was 7. And it seems that, so to me, this is my future times. In the future times when I was a child, they said that there's going to be AI, automated technology, all of that. And we're there. The thing is, these people have grown more and more and more out of pocket since they started participating day one. And that's because Black people didn't put the right value connection to it. These people were only engaged in Black culture as the commodified form, as a genre. And for some reason, when we tell them, look, this is not the right way to go about valuing participation or even speaking upon our culture or whatever, they look at us like we're slaves. And we can do with you what the hell we want to. It's like, all right, well, wait a minute. We couldn't go to your land that out of pocket. Y'all be ready to murk.
Right. So true. Anything else you want to say about that?
I mean, that's pretty much it. But the thing is, what else are they going to do, though? Because if they don't have no flavor and everybody else seems to get their flavor for us, we got to start telling ourselves that we're pretty some unique people when it comes to our flavor, when it comes to our flow, when it comes to everything. So we don't have the right chips on our shoulder that we supposed to have. Shout out to Kanye, for real, cuz.
Okay. I hear you. Okay, I appreciate you, brother, for tapping in. Appreciate you. Volvo, you want to say something before you remember what you want to say?
Yeah, it was something about white people. White people don't really have a lineage here,
right?
Themselves. White people are in a never-ending ethnogenesis. The original white people that came here and conquered this land, we have them. We have their last names. There's a different group of white people over here now. We have last names like Williams, Johnson, Taylor, stuff like that. Those are the original white people's names. If you follow the name, today is all types of people that's white here today, that's classified as white, that have the white phenotype. That's mainly what white is about. Donald Trump, even our president, is not. He doesn't come from those original white people.
Right.
Today you got Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz. I just want to use examples that we all can see. Ted Cruz is a Dominican, not a Dominican, a Cuban. He's
Cuban, right. He looks white.
Yeah, that looks white. And if you bumped into Ted Cruz on the street, he would be any other white man. You got these last names like Nowinski and Novinsky and Zerlinski. Those are Eastern European, Eastern European last names. They came over here in the 70s and 80s. That's when they started coming over here. White people, being white in America is just about phenotype. Really, it's about phenotype. And if they know that your lineage doesn't trace back, you have to agree with white supremacy. Somebody said Elon Musk. Elon Musk is an African. He's more African than me and you. I mean, to be honest, you know what I mean.
right.
And one last thing I want to touch on the topic of the room. The envy towards us is, I hope I'm not offensive, but you know, everybody know me as Volvo speakers.
Be real, man. You got it.
All right, my brother, I appreciate that.
That's it.
These people don't really have a culture. If you look at these people come out the jungle. Out the real jungle, not the real jungle. I'm talking about the jungle.
They could do something with that, but they choose not to. All these people that be doppelgangering can choose to go to dive. All we did was dive into ourselves, man. Why the reason they won't dive into themselves and put themselves as the measurement, and that's where you build that culture from. That's what hip hop is, because hip hop is an amalgamation of Black culture into like one thing. It's really quite unique, but it has all that other lineage and everything connected to it. Those people, they could do that if they dove into whatever their foundational culture is. But they won't. 40 fucking years later, they still ain't. The Chinese ain't, the Arabs ain't, the Hindus ain't, Mexicans ain't. Come on.
Yeah, if I could get just 1 more minute. These people don't really have a culture. We have the superior culture.
Right. I agree.
These people literally come out the jungle. When I say that, I'm not trying to be offensive or none of that, but it's true. Latin America, all over Latin America is the jungle. It's a jungle, like a real jungle, like monkeys and fucking, the jungle. And Asia is a jungle. Tigers. Where do you think tigers live? In the jungle. They live in Asia, India. All that shit. We see these videos of these East Indians in the jungle eating this weird stuff, all that kind of stuff. Even Africa. I know that a lot of Black people got an affinity for Africans, but Africa is a jungle. The Arabs come out the desert. They come out the bombs. They getting blown all out their country. These people come from an inferior culture. For lack of a better, I don't got no better term. They come from an inferior culture. And here's the thing. They were left to their own devices. They were left to their own devices. They are they run their countries. They are the police officer, the doctors, the lawyers, the politicians, the garbage man, the crackhead on the street, the everything in every facet of society is mainly them in their homeland. We never had our own country. We have been under the thumb of white supremacy, and we still created the most relevant culture on the planet, to where now other people mimic our culture. These people are literally walking around calling themselves by the Black American slur. That has never happened on planet Earth. There is not. I'm a historian myself. I like to follow history. We've never seen this anywhere on planet Earth, to where your enemy cosplays you. We've never seen that. We've never seen that. Appreciate you letting me speak, brother.
All right, let me give Malik. Come up, Malik.
Peace, brother. Can you hear me?
And then Paul Roberts, you're next, brother.
Peace,
go ahead, Malik.
Well, you know,
yeah, I can hear you.
My take on is our people have always been here for thousands of years. It's well documented that the movie Roots, where everything really started off at, you know what I'm saying, was cow's play and whatnot. It was plagiarized off an Irish woman's story, and Alex Haley, who wrote that document, was sued for $500,000. I'm gonna kill a slave story with that right there alone. No way we coming off African boats and we inventing everything and all the music genres and the dances. So what did the white man create over here if we did all this? And this supposed to be his country and the so-called Indian country. No, we was the so-called Indians. Have anybody heard of Walter Plecker? Anybody familiar with him?
Yeah.
Walter Plecker was the one who changed us from Indian to color and Negro. You know what I'm saying? Now, son, in 1960, we became Black. In 1970, we became African American.
Okay, check this out, Malik. But that's another topic.
I know.
Yeah. Hip hop is Black. Hip hop is Black.
Yeah. This is what I'm trying to say to y'all. I'm trying to say to you is hip hop has always been here. It didn't start in 1970. Everything evolves.
No, you can't do that. You can't. No, you can't do that, homie. Hold up. I ain't gonna let you do that.
I'm gonna say this. If you look at those dances, if you look at those dancing, right? If you look at the music, the way we move as a people, It has always been in us as an essence. It has always been the foundation of that culture because everything evolved. You know what I'm saying? All I'm saying to you is this. We are the most imitated people in the world. You know what I'm saying? Why is that? Like the brother said, if we went through all this stuff, we went through redlining, we went through you know what I'm saying, Jim Crow laws and all that. How has we come out of all that and we still the most imitated people in the world?
Because
why
we're
is
also the
that?
most resilient.
That's right. And my thing is this, brother. You know, I tell people all the time, you know, they're very jealous, and we have a very powerful culture. We're a superpower culture all over the world because everybody imitate us to the point where it become jealous, one envy that they want to be us so bad. They wanted to take our place and downgrade our whole history. You know what I'm saying? Saying that's not your history, that's our history. We influence you. We influence you. And at the end of the day, okay, if you influence us, why we have no co-creators in none of our music genre or even our dances? Am I right?
Right.
That's because we're not living our culture. I need y'all to understand something. Hip hop is received as music by these people. That's not music. When you first heard hip hop, you didn't hear music. You heard culture. You heard you. The people forget what put hip hop together. The funk and bebop and doo wop and and rap. A lot of y'all think that rap come from hip hop, motherfuckers. What the fuck? Nah. The thing is, when we heard hip hop, we heard ourselves differently because the funk was already still at its peak. Smooth R&B, you know what I'm saying? That smooth Atlantic Star, Midnight Star type stuff. That was still peak. That's why you let her rock steady. Get the fuck out of here. You was bumping that as much as you was bumping any type of hip hop song. The thing is, is culture. To other people, it's music, and that's why I don't think we don't make music. We put our life to wax, and everybody else just make music. And that's the way that they absorb it. And that's the way they absorb us as a people, which is out of pocket. It's like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? You can go ahead and love what we produce and everything of the culture, but they don't give you no right to be out of pocket to us as a culture of people. It's just simply because you got some I don't know, some hold or whatever by music, by way of music, to think that lets you have some form of say so within the culture that is connected to the unfinished business.
Mm-hmm. Let Paul Roberts. Go ahead, Paul Roberts.
Hi, all.
What's up?
Big fan of the channel. Shout out everyone on the panel and in the chat. I'm white American. I'm a third generation New Yorker. And I got in this whole argument. I don't walk around talking about this every day, but I see it's, well, we're the best. Well, we're the best. But when I say no, hip hop is Black American. Like, I saw it. You can't tell me I'm saying that because I'm Black American. I'm saying it because it's the facts. Anyway, I noticed a couple things. I always heard Black Americans say, oh, these other people are against us. I'm like, you're crazy. Jamaicans, Africans, and Latinos are against you? Nah. But I've really seen it since I came around here. I've really seen it. But just to consolidate some points I want to make, I keep hearing Puerto Rican people say, well, we were the slaves and we were the slaves. I Googled, in 1873, they abolished slavery in Puerto Rico, and there were 30,000 slaves in Puerto Rico. And that's out of 650,000 people. So no, you don't all come from slaves. Not everyone in Puerto Rico has African DNA. In fact, it's a minority DNA, and they did a whole test. You are not.
Right.
You are not Black in Puerto Rico, and also the size matters because when they abolished slavery in the United States, that's like 4 million people. It's a dominant culture worldwide. It's just like it's crazy. The lies. But one thing I noticed, I was over this other guy's channel in the comments, and there was he did a Juneteenth special about how Black Americans don't go in these protests. So there was this Latin guy, and he kept saying, oh, you call us tethers, and you were the slaves, and we're the immigrants, we work harder than you, and all this. And then in his comments, he said, don't forget, there was a certain group of people in Germany in the 30s who they were going after too. So I said, wait a second, you banging on Black Americans, but you're afraid to type the word Jewish. So you do know how it works. Over here. All right. And then I see all these people, they saying, we're not against African Americans. It's the term FBA because the person who coined it. But yet every time you fill out a form at the doctor, you see this thing that says, how do you identify your pronouns? So you let all these people call themselves how they want. So I think they do know who they can bang on, who they can lie on, whose shit they can steal without consequences. They talk about white culture. They'll say Frank Sinatra. He's like me. He's like my family. They came about 1900. We're from Europe, right? But the last thing I want to say, I got a problem with you, Malik Bey, because I just heard you say "Jealous One's Envy," and that's a Fat Joe record. So I just want to say, Fat Joe, you got to grow out your straight hair before you go to trial. That's what you need to do. You need to grow out. You need to grow out that Caucasian straight hair before your trial. Before your trial.
That'll be
Fat
a good
fuck. You prick. All right. Thanks for having me up. Cheers. Man.
All right. So yeah. So what you guys think about that song that I played? What did that do to you? Because I thought, for me, it's like that was home for me.
Okay.
You know, I felt that. Like it took me. That's like the root of. For me, it's like all our musical genres kind of like birthed from that.
What song was it? What song? I didn't get to hear it because I came.
Oh, you didn't get to hear it. Oh,
I didn't hear it either.
Oh, you didn't hear it either. Oh man, I'm sorry.
No.
I'm just rambling, dude.
No, you ain't. Hey, Hey, we crisscross.
What was the song?
It was an old song like back in the when there was no instruments, when they sung a cappella.
Oh,
that
nice.
kind of old stuff. You know, it was. You know, so it was.
Did it have a stone to
I heard that.
Can I say this? I didn't hear the song, but I think I'm kind of getting what you saying. Was it an old Negro spiritual?
It was somewhat like that, but it was fast. Let me see if I could play it real quick.
Please do, because I love those cadences.
Let me see. Since you guys didn't hear it, where we at? Where we find it real quick? Oops, there we go. There we go. So,
yo, he's serious though. That would be a good look, Fat Joe. You know what I'm saying? Get a little bit more wider.
Oh, let me stop it. It's not that one. Let me go back.
I know it ain't that one.
No, it's not that one. I know it's not that one. Give me a second. I gotta find it real quick because it got lost in the sauce here. Let me go back.
Yo, I always wonder how the black people as far back as because they would ask Miles Davis questions, and you know what I'm saying, like, is it what is the different the way that white people play and black people play and everything?
Oh, I heard that interview.
Right, and they ask him the question that they know the answer to, but all of those black people was always nice to. Basically, the white people suck, you know what I'm saying, or they can't compete, right, unless they're like really mimicking and everything, much like everybody else, right? So then they put him on the spot so that to see if he'd be honest and not give them, you know what I'm saying, that praise that a lot of black people like to hear these motherfuckers whenever they do like anything like half luster or whatever. And you can see the hesitation in his energy, and he's still, you know what I'm saying.
I've seen that with Miles Davis. Miles Davis answered that wrong because he was put on the spot. It caught him off guard.
Yeah.
White guy studied that, and he
Peckerwoods know the answers. Yes, they even know. That's why they asked you.
He know the answer is yeah. That's why, and he tried to walk Miles into it, but Miles, that was a weird time. That was a weird time to where civil rights movement, all that kind of shit. You know what I mean? He didn't want to answer it wrong. He was really put on the spot, but. They know we can see both of their energy. He tried to walk him into it, but it just he didn't.
They have a problem dancing. The fact that you have a problem dancing means that rhythm is not within you. Rhythm is not of your people. Rhythm is not of your culture. It ain't of your spirit. Damn.
let me play this. Let me play it right quick, guys. Let me play this real quick. Okay. Let me see. Facebook. Let me start from the beginning.
I'll be all right. When I make it happy, I'll be all right. I'm gonna put on my old white robe. So I'm gonna rest all these round. When I make it to
Oh, they bopping.
Yeah.
Take your time.
There you go.
Like the offering coming after this, man.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that was it. That was it. That was it. So,
yo, how deep are they?
Huh?
How deep were they?
How deep we mean?
Like how many people? How many people?
Oh, how many? Oh, I don't know. It was hard to see. It sounded like four. It sounded like four. But I was using that as an example to show where did white people give us that? Did white people actually give us that? And I'm not clearly they didn't. It's something that we created ourselves.
Right.
And instead of saying we got this from white folks, no.
Yeah.
You can't find this in Europe.
Nope.
You can't find this nowhere but here. This is us.
Yep.
You know, so give us our credit that we deserve. You know what I'm saying? So for me, like I said, although that's not the actual root, but from that, everything was birthed from that soul and spirit.
Yeah.
All the music genres was built from that. And you can't take that away from us. So what's up, Don Switzer? What's up, brother?
Hey, I would like to chime in.
Yes, sir.
Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes, sir.
I can hear.
Peace and blessings to Brother Truth. I see we got Brother Malik Bey in the house as well. I don't, because I'm coming in late, so I didn't catch the third brother. But peace and blessings to all. Listen, I'm glad to be here. And I'm glad that I caught it at this point because you're speaking to an X factor within our history.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when we talk about our legacy, I mean, we have such a rich legacy. Let's get into that first and foremost. So when you talk about when they first started acknowledging us with the blues, now all of these genres of music, and I'll say how it's similar to hip hop, was that they weren't well regarded as first.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm repeating what's been said already, is only because I'm coming in late. But this is when I wanted to speak on as far as gospel. Historically, when we were brought here, in a lot of these chats, they speak of the things that were removed, like say, as far as the drum. Okay, they outlawed the drum, but they couldn't outlaw our rhythm, right? So what happened was because our ancestors got exposed to European instruments. What happened, in my humble opinion, is what we call universal law. Our ancestors taught Europe music in the first place, if we're talking historically.
Mm-hmm.
So now when they bring our ancestors here, we didn't lose any of those things. It's just that when we had access to these various instruments that came under the European flag, what happened and what transpired was two things. A lot of people have said in different chats, like, oh, well, they helped us with this, they helped us with that. And that's because they don't know the history of segregation. Number one, when our great-great-grandparents were sharecropping, we weren't able to intermingle with the hillbillies in the area. We had no other choice but to get into our own thing. And gospel, which is let's just say was the beginning, because that was when they allowed us to let our hair down. And that was only because they was teaching us Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I don't want to digress. What I want to talk about, the universal law, is, and this is going to sound like we are bigging up ourselves, but let's call it.
We got to.
We are rendering the European instruments better than the Europeans, and I'm not trying to put down any race or anything. Is that and truth? I'm speaking to you as a musician. See, there are certain things that if you don't have that music background, there's certain things that you don't understand. A lot of people do not understand the high intellect of jazz music. How it was called jazz was that America called it like, what's this crap? What's this jazz? Like this that they did with early hip hop. It wasn't that until Europe got a taste of jazz that they called jazz, and this is the only time this has been mentioned in the history of America. They called jazz America's gift to the world.
Right.
Now, what they started understanding for people, and I don't want to get into music theory, that's a conversation we can have on the side. Once they started understanding where these brothers was coming psychologically, musically, they realized that no, they're not on the same page as the Bachs and Beethovens. They done way past it. Now I'm talking about the John Coltrane's. I'm talking about the Miles Davis of the world. I'm talking about the innovators. And like I don't want to I don't want to monopolize this conversation, but I have to get this part off because this has been heavy on our chest. There is this backwards information about how people came into our community, right? And I want to really talk about the Cuban and African American experience. And I want to speak on Mr. Big Time, who I Mario Basa. There is this misinformation that Mario Basa came and revolutionized jazz. And I respect him, and he is one of our great gifted musicians. Mario Basa was a student. People don't know that when he came to Harlem, he came to work under jazz cats, and once he got some jazz under his belt, he gave it to the rest of his people, right? Okay, they misconstrued that part. They messed that part up. Tito Fuentes learned from a jazz brother. All dudes, Eddie Palmieri, his influences is Monk and cats from that school. So the point that I wanted to make, and I'm not even gonna bring the brother's name up, but a particular individual who we all know. I was having a conversation about music, and I was speaking about the blues, and then I got into the subject how blues transitioned to rock and roll, and he actually. So you're trying to tell me that black people make up rock and roll? So I thought he was jiving. I thought he was jiving because I said, "How is this man don't know that black people made up rock and roll?" He got so heated that he said, "You think you black people made up everything," and hung up the phone. That's how so that let okay, I understand that when you don't have the knowledge or the background and you're trying to come across as an intellect, that's a problem. That's the problem. And the thing about it is, what's so sad is that anybody can get a microphone and get on YouTube and spirit this and spirit that. But before I pass the mic, as we would say back in the days of hip hop, let me get to hip hop real quick. I just want to talk about my particular background. I grew up in the Boogie Down during the time. I grew up right off the concourse, walking distance from Sedgwick Avenue, where Hurt started. Now, what I want to say is that number one is this. I am definitely not trying to knock anybody from the Latin family. I got too many people who are like brothers from another mother that are Latin cats. But let's speak on hip hop. I just want to just say very plainly is that they talk about Pigmeat Martin, talk about these other things, and who is left out of the conversation is brother Gil Scott-Heron. Now, why I say this is that when we were kids, and I got to tell you my personal experience of this particular incident. They used to play Gil Scott in the bottle, like during like the so-called intermission. Now, as kids, all knew who Gil Scott had. That when the album played in the house, you could not touch that album, and you would listen to it from beginning to end. We all knew who Gil Scott Heron was.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to tell a personal story for me when I seen how rap started changing. When you look at The Message by Melly Mel, right? Child is born with no state of mind, blind to the ways of mankind. Before he did that on The Message, he did that like at the jams. So one night, first time I ever heard this, okay, I'm smoking a little weed and it's the regular hip hop stuff. And it's the regular hip hop stuff. Yes, yes, y'all, you know. And then this brother started spitting, a child is born with no state of mind, blind to the ways of mankind. I stopped in my tracks. I'm not saying this just for conversation. As the brother continued, I said to myself, oh, this brother got on some Gil Scott Heron stuff. When I first heard him spit that, and if you listen to The Message, if you listen to those words, and if you know anything about Gil Scott Heron, I am not saying that that was his inspiration, but I could see how that might have played a part. Now, they put a lot of things on how rap became this and how rap became that, and I'm so glad from the hip hop historian he dropped some stuff, because truth of the matter is, I'm going to touch on breakdancing. Breakdancing was a dance that came and went with the brothers. The Latinos, when they picked it up, and I'm speaking to my Latin nation that was there, the streets gave them love. When Crazy Legs and them started, no one was saying, like, you know, you got like a little ribbon and stuff like that. But when they started getting on TV, we were proud for them. We were proud for them. Now,
But perhaps maybe that was the issue, though, because y'all were so loving back then, man. For real, y'all was loving to the point to where as a crack, you know what I'm saying, crack baby, not a crack baby, but you know what I'm saying, that come up in the 80s. You look back in that time, you got to ask the question, when you can see that same vitriol and that energy on these pilgrims and everything and everybody else, you can see the fuck you on them. So why is it that at that time y'all couldn't see the fuck you, or did y'all look past the fuck you?
Okay, well, this is something you got to really understand, is that I came up post-gang era, right? I came up post-gang era. My older brother, he was, you know, part of like the Black Spades and stuff like that. So when I came up, that was dying down. Hip hop was emerging. Now these things were, now we're talking about the lens of adults. I'm gonna tell you my personal experience. If I came home, if I came to my Spanish friend's house, I don't want to get into names, but this has happened several times, and I came there for dinner, right? The mother or father did not say, go home, we getting ready to eat dinner. They said, Don, clean up and, you know, have some bacalao, have some, you know. So I grew up during that time when, even though, and see, this is the part where it gets, there's levels to this, because you got to understand, within the Latin community, and not to bounce all over the place, there are levels of racism within their own community. So many, let's say many darker Latino cats identified with us. So when they came, like if they came up in the 60s and they were listening to the Jackson 5 and James Brown, I didn't realize this until I saw this one day. I was like maybe 13 or 14, and I seen this dark Spanish dude and a lighter dude arguing amongst themselves about Spanish stuff or who was better. And I'm standing there like shocked, like I didn't even know that went down. I didn't realize the racism within the culture, meaning Latin culture, until I got older. Like you could just have a dude, and I give an example. I'm not going on people.
There's nothing wrong with racism, and nobody trying to get the people to like you or whatever. They got the right to have their own culture.
Can I just ask one? Can I ask one question? Is that the guy from Queen behind you?
Huh?
So I just want to ask one question. Is that the guy from Queen behind you?
Wait, which one are you talking about?
To your left. Is that the guy from Queen? That guy right there. Yeah.
Nigga, high as hell.
That's who? That's who?
Billie Holiday.
Oh, okay.
That's Billie Holiday. Oh.
There's a glare. There's
well,
a glare.
okay, okay. Still a queen though. You know what I'm talking about? All right, respect. All due respect.
No, I'm talking about the specific guy from Queen. I think his name Freddie something, but
Freddie Mercury. Freddie Mercury.
Famous picture in Harlem.
Oh no, not trying to go into the. I'm just curious. We don't got it here.
Okay, but then like to get into, I'm gonna bounce to Mario Baza just to get into what I was saying. One of the things that Mario Baza mentioned was that when he came to Harlem, is that he felt a freedom that he didn't know in Cuba, and this is blowing my mind because I'm thinking of the racism that we in 1930. How could that be? Now, what some people, I don't want to assume, but they were lynching light-skinned Cubans, fair-skinned Cubans, and I hope I'm not offending, this is just historical facts, were lynching darker-skinned Cubans. That's how deep that went. Now, we got a lot of funky stuff in our backgrounds. I don't know if there were Creoles that were lynching other brothers, but you know, so the point that I was making, like say with hip hop, there were a lot of Afro Latinos, and they weren't, and we didn't view them as Afro Latinos. Let's just say they just gravitated.
Black.
Yeah, they just, because we were all listening to James Brown, and this is another thing too, and I'm going from my era. Now I know maybe Malik might fall out his chair, but I'm gonna throw Fat Joe a bone, and he does not need it. But let me explain. When Fat Joe said 50-50, right? The point I wanted to make was what hip hop started in the 70s and what it became, let's say by 85, was day and night. So someone like a Fat Joe or a KRS saw a total different hip hop than I did coming up. I will say this, and I hope I don't ruffle any feathers, but like I done sat right across from Hurt, Bam, Flash. I'm talking about jams. I'm not trying to say their record. No, I'm talking about just being at jams. I did not see an inkling. I didn't even know Flash had a Caribbean background until all of the. When I say Flash roll like a regular dude, a regular brother, I'm gonna just leave it right there. But let me talk about Bam for a quick second. Because Pat's been saying there are 4 elements of hip hop. There are not 4 elements of hip hop. There are 5. Let me break down the last one. Knowledge. The Zulu Nation, right, at the time, were giving out what they called the Zulu lessons, word for word, were the same lessons of the 5 percenters. African was a 5 percenter. DXT was a 5 percenter. Bam, in other words, what Bam was doing differently from Flash, Breakout, and the rest of them, he was giving a Afrocentric vibe to hip hop. Now, did he maybe flip the script when he got some microphones put in front of him with white folks? I'm gonna just leave that right there. I'm just telling you what I saw. So when they say that it didn't come, well, where did the music come from? The music, listening to the Fania All-Stars, ska, or reggae. Even Herc, who came up in Jamaica, was playing. He was more of an advocate for James Brown than any of them.
But that's just the thing right there. When people talk about the 5 elements of hip hop, it's always that commodified form for everybody to be able to partake. Well, you know what? These are the rules and the guidelines for how you partake of that, as opposed to that which drew them from the family function into the outdoors. They just took the jam outside. You was already jamming in the house. It wasn't just called a jam because it was outside. You was jamming in the motherfucking house, cuz. And then they took it outside, right? So we're talking family function more than anything. They started off being family functions that, you know what I'm saying, that people want, that when the phone got a hold to them with that spiritual nature that the phone has to it, which is why it reason to hit you in your nose, and we call it funky. You don't smell nothing. You know what I'm saying? We going cosmic right there, instantly at your, you know what I'm saying, eye chakra or whatever.
Okay, let me say this real quick. I gotta go soon. So let's wrap up with everybody closing comments, and then because I gotta run. So Volho, you're closed.
Yeah, let me say this, right?
Everyone in the comment, Google Black Woodstock. It happened in 1968, 69 in Mount Morris Park, Harlem.
I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Let me say this.
It drew over 300,000 people within that festival.
Let me say this, bro.
Since the 60s and the 50s.
This whole conversation went all over the place.
Right.
Let me just keep it in context. Hip hop comes from slavery. Period. And that's undeniable. That video you played earlier, brother. There is no Puerto Rican version of that. There is no white version of that. There is no Jamaican version of that. It comes from slavery when our ancestors were in the killing fields of America singing about what? Their trouble.
That's right.
They were singing about their blues.
Say, I'll be all right. That's what the song, I'll be all right. You know?
Yeah, that's like even an updated version of what they were singing about. And they were singing about swing low, sweet chariot. Come swing low, chariots of God. They were asking for the chariots of God to swing low and carry me out of this misery, out of this hell I'm in. Take me away from my blues. Even today, we can see that today. A lot of people don't like the YNs, as they call them. They're singing about drill music and all that. That's a continuation of that heritage, of that tradition. They're singing. If you listen to what they're saying, if you can understand, if you have an ear for what they're saying about their blues growing up in the ghetto, how they gotta hustle to make money, and how they gotta go against the other gang and shit like that. This is all a continuation of slavery. Of that's before it was called the blues. That's what they were singing about. They were singing about their blues, about their trouble in the killing fields of America. You can draw a straight line from our ancestors singing about Old Jordan Road, from that all the way to today, and all the music genres that followed after that. These other people don't have that. The Latinos can't say that because they were speaking another language. You know, I could go so deep into this, but I know you got to go, brother.
Right, yeah. Speak. Right. I appreciate the comment. Go ahead.
How often do you do these? Like, I want to come back.
Well, it's kind of random, but I've been doing it every Saturday. I may do another one next Saturday.
What time?
6:30
Eastern Standard.
Are you subscribed to me?
No. I just
you should subscribe. You will get a notification. You'll know. Okay?
Is it 6:30 Eastern Standard?
Eastern, yes, Eastern Standard Time. Right.
Peace.
So you make sure you subscribe to it. Go ahead.
I just say
I want to say this to brothers and sisters out there. Can y'all hear me?
Go ahead, Malik. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say this. When people say hip hop, we've been doing hip hop since slavery. I had another brother tell me we was doing break dances since slavery. I said, "Are you serious?" I said, "Let me say something to y'all. Slavery was back in the 1800s, indentured servitude. It wasn't slavery you thought it was. If you have not seen the documents, then it wasn't slavery you thought it was. Our people has always been here. It's well documented. Like I gave you the first one to break down, and that was the movie Roots. That's what started it all, and that's what they sue Alex Haley for. I'm gonna move forward now. We have always been here. Like I said, if you don't know about Walter Pleckard, then you don't know history. If you have not done your family genealogy, then you don't know history. You don't know who your fourth, fifth great grandfather and grandmother is, but you're gonna tell me about some slavery. If you have not seen the documents, you know what I'm saying, that our people been here for thousands of years, I get what you're showing, brother. I can show you books after books. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I am a Moor. Hear me out. A Moor is any dark-skinned, melanated person, just like a Moreno. I am a Moor. My people been here for thousands of years, brother. I get it, but you
and it's not going to
here's the catch.
return
I'ma
by
say
no
this.
legislation, homie. That's not
Okay.
going to happen.
Let me
dog.
say this before I go. If you say you came off those slave boats, then you are an immigrant and you are foreign and you could be expedited back out of here because you're not indigenous to the land.
Okay,
That's
and
a
by
fact.
what law
That's a
and by what
You
law
don't-
that respects a
Okay,
nigga's
we're gonna-
humanity, man?
Okay,
We ain't finna do
I'ma
this.
say it right now.
I
Hold
don't
on,
want to
let me
hear
finish.
this now
Let
because
me
this
finish.
look when you come up here with this, you still are
Brother,
able to
hold on.
marginalize
I
blackness,
respect your
right?
speech. Hold
I'm
on,
not
brother.
letting
I
nobody
respect your speech.
marginalize blackness. Not no
Hold
more, not no Pan-Africanist, not no, not no we
Okay,
indigenous
cool. I
people.
respect that.
Hold up.
Let me finish
Black
my let me
culture, cuz.
finish my train of thought. Brother.
I don't want to mute anybody.
I respect.
But
Hear
you
me out.
gotta
Brother.
quit.
Hear me
Let's be
out.
quiet.
Let me
Finish
let-
letting you
let me-
play
let
because, like I said, I gotta go.
Okay,
I
I'm gonna
gotta
land
go.
my plane like this. The 14th Amendment is a contract. The 14th Amendment can be played with. That's why you got Trump playing with the 14th Amendment. And guess what? Supreme Court ruled. You know what I'm saying? They could dismantle the 14th Amendment. What is the 14th Amendment? All persons born or naturalized in the United States is subject to their jurisdiction. Guess what, y'all? Are you subject to their jurisdiction? Are you United
I
States
don't
citizen?
give a damn.
Guess what?
They don't
When you-
respect our fucking humanity. Stop that with this fucking law that doesn't respect our humanity. I don't.
Brother, we're not on here arguing. We're not doing that. I'm not arguing with you, bro. Let me land my plane, brother.
I gotta mute. It's getting out of hand. I gotta mute people here. Listen, brother, I respect your passion, Rogish, son, but the language, you gotta control that, please. Control that. Okay. Malik, please, you got a minute. I want to give Rogish son his closing. We got to close this in a calm manner. Please, in a calm manner. All right. I know we're getting off message, but we got to do this calmly. Malik, I'm going to unmute you. Say what you got to say. You got 1 more minute. Don't nobody interrupt, please. Let him finish his statement. Rogish, son, you could go give your minute closing in a calm sense. Okay. I appreciate it. Let's go, Malik. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say this. My family genealogy goes back to the 1700s. My fourth grandfather was a Muskogee Creek so-called Indian from Greensboro, Georgia. His wife Judith was from Alabama. She was Choctaw. All right, we came off no slave boats. For my family, I don't know about your family. I'm gonna say this: we are indigenous here, and like I said, we have the most patents, our music, our dancing. Nobody touch us. For some reason, they always trying to compare us to these so-called white people. And I'm gonna land my plane on this one. The original 13 colonies that came here look like me and you. So they was the Johnson, the Jenkins, and the Millers. Okay, they was not pale-skinned people as you was taught. I'm gonna land my plane there. Peace.
Okay, go ahead, Rogish, son. Rogish, son. Go ahead, brother.
Now check this out. When we're talking about, we're talking about black culture.
Right.
My entire life, I've seen. Do y'all remember when they made us African American? You remember how that felt? Because I heard that shit through the news, 3rd grade. And I was, you know what I'm saying, beginning to open up my stride in blackness. Because you see how dark my skin color is. 1983, having this skin color, it was somewhat of a, you know what I'm saying, a slight against you to black people. But it was to such a degree that I had to look into it. It never hurt my feelings. It was like, damn, why the fuck everybody, even people darker than me or as dark than me, whatever. You black. I had to find out on my motherfucking own why we feel this way about something that we can't change about ourselves. Now, as far as how we define it, black or whatever, all right, then all I had to do was look back from 1983 to around 1974, 75, when everything about black was something that we were bigging up, was something that we was analyzing about ourselves, defining about ourselves, to the point where everybody within this world, to some form of fashion, tried to see if they can get their natural on our style. When black people started loving their hair and loving their skin, loving their talk, loving their walk, everything about us, the way that we greeted one another with the dap. We had elaborate ways just to say, hey, you know what I'm saying? How you doing? How your mama, how your daddy, all that. That's black culture. You feel me? So I'm not taking nobody negating black culture. You feel me? Because that's when I saw. That's when I saw that, you know what, we have a value in ourselves. That's when I saw that excellence. That's when I saw that innovation, that creativity, that ease of dominance, that all of that. It's like, and everybody try to get on our level, and they've been mimicking us the whole time for about 40 years. I'm 46 now, and I've been watching this since I was 6. Are you kidding me? Nobody's finna nullify black culture. The whole thing, as far as being the ditches, I don't give a damn. These Peckerwoods took it through war. And if you think you finna get it back through legislation, you smoking. As far as it goes with everybody else, man, get out of here, cuz. Shit. Let us do us. To all you Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, Arabs, Asians, Africans, out of pocket, we giving you the same motherfucking funk that we've been giving each other. They all been loving to hear on wax.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Don Switcher. And another minute. Okay, close it out in a minute here.
Okay, will do. I want to go with the title of the platform, which is the envy, and I don't want to come from a negative perspective. We have a beautiful legacy, which is obvious, from gospel. I'll just run it down very quickly. From gospel to ragtime to blues, from blues to rock and roll, from rock and roll to Motown, from Motown to funk, obviously from disco to jazz and everything that came along with that. I don't really want to get into the negative part of it, but when you look at, you know, when we were brought here and how we've impacted not America but the world, I believe that is where a lot of this comes from. Like the innovation, not only with music, you know, I don't want to get off the subject, but there was a movie called Something the Lord Made with Vivian Thomas, who helped innovate heart surgery. Okay, he didn't learn that, and there's so many things of our contributions that have been kept away from us, and I can understand how younger folks within our community can be very aggressive on protecting and gatekeeping Black culture, because we've seen this play out before. Truth, when you and I grew up, we didn't know that rock and roll came from us until we got older. Mm-hmm. Like we might have, if Elvis was on TV, there might have been an older person in there saying, "Oh, this is some BS. He ain't no king of rock and roll." Or when Little Richard would get up there, we would say, "Well, what is this guy talking about?" Until we found out who these people actually were. Now, I will say this very quickly in closing. You and I have a different perspective because of our background with music. So we're going to see this differently. And listen, there are things that we have learned from one another. We've influenced Latin culture musically, and there are some beautiful things that came from Latin culture musically and our other brethren as well. I do not feel that we need to get into who is better than who, because when we get to the end of the day, who are we talking about that we're better than, and to whom? To whom? So I want to just end it on like, nah, this is not to beat up on some folks that are uninformed, maybe in the Latin or Caribbean community, because that's all it is. I am saying that we were youth. We were youth, and it wasn't about the lens that we look through right now as adults. We were 13 and 14 enjoying Sly Stone and James Brown and Gil Scott-Heron. Let me continue. Let's not forget big bad Gil Scott-Heron. So I will end on that note. Brother Truth, thank you for allowing me on the platform, and continue what you're doing, brother.
And thank you for your support as well. So to the chat, I thank you for chiming in. It's been very active. Appreciate the commentary, and I appreciate all of you for supporting this channel. We got so much to do in terms of gatekeeping, and that's what I'm about. And so hopefully I could get another live, hopefully next week. We'll see what happens. So until the next time, Malik, brother, peace to you. We'll talk soon. Peace, all right. Peace. Okay, till the next time, where I'm out.